Hey there, everyone. It's Camber here with the Yo Pro No. I am here today with Shravani Charylulu, 26-year-old consultant at PNC, in addition to being an actor. So we'll hear much more about that today. But first, I always like to share how our interviews came to get to the Yo Pro No. And Paris, who has connected us with several young professionals across the country, and we interviewed him almost 6 months ago, probably now. You guys know each other from school. So I love always bringing connections together because at the end of the day, the YoProno is this expanding network that just shows that everyone is interconnected at the end of the day. So I love it. Thanks so much for being here.
Of course, I'm happy to be here.
All right. So Shravani, give us just a really brief background on who you are. So where you're from originally, how you ended up in Pittsburgh, what you're currently doing, and then we'll dive back into those details on how you got there.
Right, got it. So I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised here. Again, like I said, I'm a consultant at PNC, also an actor. And yeah, like I said, I've been born and brought up here and work here as well.
Awesome. That was very concise. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, all right. You don't normally hear consultant and actor in the same kind of career path. So tell us more about that. How did you get to PNC and what happened kind of in the meantime on your acting side of things?
Right. So yeah, I went to the University of Pittsburgh for my undergrad. I did my undergrad in business information systems and marketing. And that's how I ended up becoming a consultant with PNC. Have an awesome group, an awesome team that I work with, and I really love my job. I really enjoy it. And on the side, I grew up learning dance, Indian classical dance, two different styles of dance, Kuchipudi from Srimati Dr. Kamala Reddy, my guru, and Bharatanatyam from my other guru, Srimati Jayamani. So they have been a huge influence in my life. And that's where my interest in acting started, was through dance, through the different roles that we played, the different shows that we did, the different performances we did. And I've, worked on that path as well ever since. They both have always been a parallel thing.
Okay.
So yeah.
Very cool. How do you balance that? What is, I know balance is like that buzzword that everyone always uses, but what does that look like? I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but consultant roles, particularly, in our 20s, I have a lot of friends who are consultants, and consultant is a very, broad term, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, I feel like generally speaking, it's pretty demanding. So how do you balance those two things?
Yeah, there are a lot of things that I learned from acting that I can apply to my consultant role and vice versa. The organization and the discipline and all of that that drives my consultant work, I also use in my acting work. And the creativity that I try to pull in acting, like being myself and really pulling from but myself, I guess I also apply to my consultant role and trying to be personable with other people. And, a lot of my day job is talking to others. And so I find that they go hand in hand. And I think if you look for those similarities, there are a ton. So yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Can you talk about an experience that you've had in your career? So it can be whether you're acting, whether you're consulting. Can you talk about a really pivotal point in your career that you've had thus far? So I know you're 26, in the years after college. What is something really pivotal that's happened? And you can interpret that question however you want. So whether that's a positive pivot or a negative one, because we know that there can be many of those.
Yeah. I guess grad school was a pretty big moment for me. I started going to Chatham 2 years ago to pursue my master's in fine arts and filmmaking and digital technology. So I was doing that part-time while I was working as well. It's taught me a lot when it comes to filmmaking and, the acting and the performance side of it. But it's also taught me, again, that balance between my, work as a consultant and my work as an actor. So, and that was also my first really diving into filmmaking and that acting that I'm so passionate about. So that was pretty pivotal for me. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So breaking down your two roles, you've obviously talked about how there's an overlap with the creativity, kind of that personal skills that you bring to the table. But what does your day-to-day look like as a consultant? What does your day-to-day look like as an actor? And what do you hope for that to look like?
Right. So right now it's my consultant role is a regular, that 9 to 5 regular business hours, totally into it, talking to everyone, getting things done, etc. So that's usually my Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. And I keep my timings pretty strict, and that when I'm cut off from work, I'm cut off from work. I try not to, go into the 6 o'clock and the 7 o'clock. I try not to do that. And then right after I'm done, I'm usually looking for casting calls or auditions to apply to. I am with the Dr. D talent agency here in Pittsburgh. So anytime I'm able to audition for them, I try to. And like I said, with pursuing my master's, I'm still working on my thesis film right now. So it's like after I shut off this computer, I get a couple hours to myself, to sort of wind down, give my eyes a break, and then I get right into the editing and
Wow.
the auditioning and the casting calls. Yeah.
I mean, how do you sleep? That how many hours of sleep do you really get?
6 to 8. 6 to 8.
Okay. That's great. I think that's great. A few things I want to point out, just the fact that you have these hard boundaries, I think is important. But like I mentioned earlier, there is this general stigma about consultant work that's not the case. Do you think that is changing, or is that just because of your particular role that you're in?
I can only go back to my personal experiences and my team that I work with, and my organization really pushes that whole work-life balance, and they're really, really supportive of it. They all know I act. They all know that I do this stuff. So being really transparent about my schedule and telling them that, hey, like, I'm working on this today, so I probably might be logging off early or whatever it is. They know what's going on the side. So not on the side, but after work, they know what's going on. So it's helpful being transparent and communicating with them.
No, that is a huge takeaway from today that I hope the listeners and audience are really paying attention to, is just being transparent is always the way to go. We mentioned before the interview, this is not my full-time job working for the YoProKnow. And so I have to be really good about my time management. I also have to be clear with my boss and my team, and, let them know that this is what I'm spending a lot of my time doing, mostly after hours, but it is really crucial to be transparent. So thank you for sharing that. Going backwards, I know you already talked about pivots, but talk about a specific hardship that you had as a young professional, and what have you learned from that?
I think confidence has always been something difficult that I'm still working on building, and trying to push myself to really feel and believe in myself. And I think, again, through transparency, through communication, the more I tell people that I do both of these things, the more I feel confident about doing them. Mm-hmm. And so I think confidence is definitely something that I've been working on.
Yeah. And it's funny to hear you say that, just because of the professions that you were in. And again, that's a stigma. I'm not saying that's the right thing. But it's funny hearing you say that, because I think it just takes so much confidence to be an actor in general. And so, so kudos to you for doing that. And I think that's a hardship that a lot of people face. So it is definitely not just you. Mm-hmm. All right. So going away from the office, away from the workplace, what is something that you like about being a young professional that has nothing to do with career?
I think commitment, being motivated, that discipline. That's something that keeps me going. Just like, different commitments that I have. I love checking boxes on things, so again, that discipline and the commitment is what motivates me. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Let me write that down. Okay, cool. And then, just mindful of time here, I have 2 more questions to ask you. One is, any last minute words of advice? You've given us a ton in a really short amount of time. But something that you think somebody can really take away from this interview and from your personal experience as a young professional?
Yeah, I think balancing, your family, your home, your personal life, your social life, your professional life. It's all difficult, but I think the more you do what makes you happy, the more you do what fulfills your soul, really everything sort of like adjusts to that and acclimates to that. I was really nervous about getting into acting, especially when I sort of had my, like I said, my professional career with consultancy and all of that. Like everything's going well, everything's going fine. And so it was a little riskier, I guess. But like I said, everything sort of, because it makes me so happy, because acting and filmmaking make me so happy, everything, whether it's my dance, my dance classes that I still attend, whether it's mom, dad, and the family, whether it's school, whether it's work, everything sort of just comes around to it. So I think yeah, so I just wanted to say that whenever you do something that makes you happy, like go for it, because
you should pursue it.
Everything else will sort of start making its way and will acclimate to your happiness.
Yeah, Shravani, that's great, because I feel that and it resonates with me so much. And I hope that it'll resonate with the audience as well. Yeah. And it's a great way to end the interview, but it's not going to stop there, because I do have a final question, and it's about film. And first, I kind of want to preface it by saying I went to, you had mentioned earlier about Indian dance, and you said you had two gurus that you looked. Okay, so I went to India for 3 months when I was in college. I studied. Okay. We traveled up the West Coast, so we started in the most southern point of the country, and it was an amazing experience. I truly, I changed on that trip. Like, it really sounds kind of corny, but it was a really, really great experience for me. And one of the months we were there, we had different professors from a school in Tamil Nadu came, and different people spoke to us about different topics, and we had like a full week on dance. And so I just learned so much. I probably could find like tons of notebooks and journal entries about that. But my question to you is, who is your inspiration? Like, do you have a specific inspiration? Is it those gurus, or, is it like Bollywood actors and actresses? I'm just curious, kind of coming from a place where I do understand a little bit, that I like to think I do, about Indian culture.
Yeah. My gurus have been an incredible influence in my life. I don't even think they know how much they influence, the decisions that I make, even when it comes to acting and the way I might perform, or even not related to that, when it comes to day-to-day things of how I behave, the way I communicate, the way I carry myself. All of those things have been influenced by Jay Auntie and Kamal Auntie. They've been such a big influence. And apart from that, of course, my parents, my older sister, so it's my younger brother, all of them have really, really inspired me in my day-to-day. So I wouldn't say I can't pick like one person or one thing, but
right.
These people have definitely inspired me a lot and continue to every day.
Yeah, well, I am really inspired talking to you. I think a lot of people will be. You, like I said, in a really short amount of time, you really brought some important things to light. One of which being transparent, and the other one that really resonated with me is just, if you really are passionate about something and it makes you happy, then you got to pursue it, and other things will just kind of fall into place. So, Shravani, thank you so much for being on the Yo Pro No today. It was such a great time getting to chat with you.
Thank you so much, Canberra. It was so much fun. Thanks.